Inside Hilltopper Athletics is brought to you by Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration.
Welcome to Inside Hilltopper Athletics Track and Field Edition, joined by the newly acclaimed Mountain East Indoor Conference champion, head coach Justin Simpson, also MEC Coach of the Year. Coach, congrats. Great weekend. Got some new hardware on the Hilltop.
Yeah, we do. It's pretty amazing to bring it back and show it to everybody. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, so just take me through the emotions, first of all.
Yeah, it's crazy because I even started this podcast a couple ago, and, you know, I was telling you and whoever listens to this that, you know, I love pressure and I love steering right into it, and, I try to make sure the team has that same mentality, and that if you have pressure, it means you're doing something right. And so kind of talking a big game about, I was like, we came into this season knowing we could win and preaching on that and not steering away from it, and not being afraid of that kind of competition, knowing that we could do something like that. So kind of talking a big game with it at the beginning. So it feels good to be able to execute and talk like that and have it show on the track and bring back the trophy. And it was not gonna lie, it's still to this day, it's pretty. I've been sleeping pretty hard. The emotions, the ups and downs, and then the 4-hour drive back after 2 days of that was pretty much took everything I had. And but it was the outpouring of people, and it's been unreal. And just trying to really enjoy it this week.
Yeah. So, what does it mean to you and the program? First ever indoor track and field champions, and first time a track and field team here has won a conference championship since the 70s.
Yeah, 1979, I hear. It means everything to the program. The people inside the program and my former athletes and my former coaching staffs, my family, they all know how much work has been put into this. And where we started when I got here, we only had 20-something athletes total. And so back then it would have been really hard to imagine where we could be in my 7th season. And even for me, it wasn't something I wasn't jumping over steps to get to. I knew this thing had to be built from the ground up. And the people that stayed with me in those first 2-3 years, and my recruits that believed in the vision of I wasn't trying to just sell them on something to get here. I truly believed we could be somewhere, but I had to have the people around me to do it. You can't do it by yourself. A track team is massive, and that the amount of points you have to score, it has to be well-rounded. And so all my former athletes and coaches, and they all know how much work has been put into this in the last 7 years. And, it obviously helps with recruitment, but, we've been a really good team for a couple of years. And it just takes time to get to this point and for everyone to believe. So I just think with the social media, the way it is now in our world, I just think it's bringing a new spotlight to a new sport up here that, basketball is always, the men's basketball team is always the men's basketball team. We all love them. They all do such a great job. Danny and their wrestling program, you look at those programs and you think they always have a shot to win, which is always amazing. I love that mentality of what Danny and Ben have in those programs. And I'm as competitive as anybody. I want that feeling too. So, I was texting Danny, and, I'll go see Ben soon. And it's just a good feeling to have that other sport here that, we built this massive track years ago that cost a lot of money. So it just really feels like we've brought something to school, and the investment they've given to us, and we've shown them, like, this is what it could do.
Right.
Yeah, so it's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, pretty special moment.
Yeah.
So let's get right into the weekend. We'll start with day one on the men's side. Conference record, school record, NCAA Provo mark in the DMR, and you come out in first place after one day, 5 or 6 events scored. So How are you feeling day one?
Yeah, day one's a real big prelim day going to finals for day 2, and there's only a couple events really day one that you're starting and you're finalizing on those days. And so for us, in my DMR team, we've been talking about that DMR for 6 months, and strategies, what could happen. We knew the teams that were going to be the contenders in it, and so I was incredibly nervous. I had such belief in those 4 guys, as the whole conference knew that us and Charleston and Deany were going to be the best teams. But talking about something that long, even during my cross-country season, I'm talking to them about the DMR and how, we have to win that DMR. And so, we again, just kind of like the whole men's team. I mean, I guess it's going to be a theme. We executed what we were supposed to do. So, Michael Harriman on the 12, there's no one else in this world I would ever want on that 1200 leg. He's so strong. He's so fast. And I know against Warren Teal, one of their best runners, that Mike would never let him go and get the handoff in the lead. Art Williams, a grad transfer from Wheeling for us, amazing 400 runner. And our best 400 runner, I know he would put us in position for our 800 leg. Tavian, who is former conference champion in the 8, did exactly what I asked him to do, and he caught back up, and he just, instead of just blowing by, he just waited patiently, and then on that backstretch, had an amazing kick. And then, I guess Dana Phillips has done everything this indoor season. You've had to write about him enough times at this point. And you couldn't believe in somebody more on your anchor leg than Dana. And we talked about if he had the baton and he had the lead. You've watched the video.
The lead kind of went back and forth a little bit, and then he kind of pulled
anybody
away.
that doesn't track aficionado, I guess, that was all strategy. That was completely planned. Dana Phillips got the handoff, and I told him if he had the lead. I learned this a lot from WVU, from Sean Cleary, and it's very hard to win in the lead, like with great runners behind you. Like, it's always better to chase and wait. So I told him if he got the baton, to slow down. Because I have that much belief in what he's done this indoor season. Yeah. So when he got the baton, we had like 2.5 second lead. And I told him 2-3 hours before that, if that scenario happens, slow down. Let those two catch you, and then you work off them. And, I mean, you could tell in the video, he's just looking behind him like this, waiting for him. And he hits the e-brake and slows down, lets him catch him, sits on him the whole way. And when he hears that bell lap, he threw down a 43-second last 300 and took it down, because I felt like that was the best strategy to win the race. And, I actually told him, he came off the track as he was getting bombarded. I told him, I said, hey, thanks for listening.
Yeah, it all goes back to the execution, though, right?
It does. I mean, and I was even having friends of mine that are big-time runners that they were texting me during the race I got later, and they were like, they were nervous. They were like, oh, my God, they caught back up. I was like, that was completely scripted, because I just felt like that was the best chance for the DMR to win the race. We don't care about – the time was amazing. Yeah. But we don't care about the time. It's just about the win. And right. So I told him, I was like, if you have that lead and you don't know how fast you're running, you have no competition out there, and it's easier for those guys to come ramping at you, then you're wondering what's going on behind you. Mm-hmm. It's always easier to chase. So, yeah, that was completely scripted. And
you talk about just going for the win and not really the time. That's a different approach than throughout the regular season.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like we got a PR. We got the conference record and the school record in it. Because he did still run a 4:13 last leg, which is really fast. God knows how fast he would have ran if he, was pressed from the gun. But yeah, I mean, at the conference championships, as you know, we scored 160 whatever points, and it's all just about getting that 10 points for the team. And whether we ran 11 minutes for the DMR or 9 minutes for the DMR, it's not possible to run 9 minutes for the DMR. It's just that 10 points, because in the end, every race that we're doing for those 2 days. And every event, 20-something events, you're just thinking about executing the best you can to maximize the points for the team. Mm-hmm. So whether you PR'd or not, if you got the points that you needed to for that race, that's all that matters at the championship. The regular season, it's all about times.
To qualify.
Exactly.
And then anything else stand out day one before we head into the final day?
Mainly it was... we talked about our boys, Josh Vancher and Luis Martinez, and they had shot on day one. And they were ranked high, 2-4 coming in. And then sometimes, conference, you get that adrenaline running, and those boys, when they have adrenaline run, they're kind of scary. They like chest bumped me a couple times. I told them I could only take one of those because, I I literally can't even I tried to hug one of them, and my arm stopped right here. I looked up at them. I was like, they're big boys. They both exceeded their marks from the regular season. And Josh Vancher went off. He almost broke our coach's, Dom Hudson's, school record. He was only 10 centimeters or whatever it was away from breaking the school record as a true freshman.
Yeah,
from
both
our
freshmen, right?
Coach, yeah. And Luis was just under 16 meters. Josh was just over. And for them to go 2-3 at the end of that day for the DMR to win, it was huge, because in this sport, you have to go execute at the conference championships for those points. You could easily, get so adrenaline up that you could foul out 3 times. You could go over the toe board 3 times easily. It happens all the time. And just because you're ranked second or something coming in,
Right.
I had a former high jumper who's amazing his senior year, but his junior year at outdoor, he was ranked second in the conference. He no-heighted high jump. Devastated him. I mean, with those kind of events, with bars, with any sort of fouls, like it's very easy that day. You could just be out, and it could happen to any team. So for them to execute like that, it was perfect.
So got some good momentum going into the Saturday final day. We'll get into that. We'll start with the high jumpers 1 through 6. That's got to be one of the crazier stories.
We knew with high jump and long jump, and even I'll get to triple because a couple of those boys deserve a lot of credit, and I'm going to give it to them. We knew going in long jump and high jump, going in the championship, that Charleston could not match the points that, even if we didn't go 1 through 6, could not match the points that we were about to throw on the board. But again, you could no height.
Right.
You could get nervous. You could mess up your steps. You could hit that bar. And we knew, and Coach Favo was incredibly nervous going into day 2 from the hotel the night before, as I was internally, because we knew those are the 2 linchpins that we had to execute in those 2, because you're about to score 25 to 35 points that no other team could complete. I mean, there are teams in the conference that just in long jump didn't get those points for the whole championship.
Right.
So that's very nerve-wracking. And so, with high jump, 1 through 6 exceeded what we thought we were going to do. And it was a little bit nerve-wracking. Dakota Thomas, one of our freshmen from Virginia, who got 3rd, he was about to foul out early at lower heights at 6 foot. And I was behind it at the triple jump area, and I was watching. I was so nervous. And he hit on his 3rd attempt to push JB out, Jeremiah Blackmore, out of that spot. Jeremiah Blackmore, amazing day to get 4th. He's had an up-and-down season, and there's no one that wants it more than Jeremiah Blackmore. And for him to get 4th, he was so pumped. And then even George Donovic from Lindsley, he wasn't supposed to score, and he's the one that jumps into that 6th spot. And then, of course, Dylan and Liam, they did exactly what they always do. We know that they're the best in the events. But just an amazing experience for those guys, because once we get into the final attempts, and there's just 6 West Lib guys only left standing there, and all the teams over there cheering them on. And at that point, it almost just looked like a practice. There's just 6 West Lib guys just hanging out and jumping at that point. There was no pressure anymore.
Yeah.
That almost never gets to happen. And it was really, really cool to watch. And it was the same as long jump. Like, we knew how many points we could gain off of long jump, and we knew getting 1 through 6 wasn't probably possible, because it's really, I've never seen that in the MEC in any event, honestly. But Gage Patterson from Oakland, like, amazing jumps, to nab that 2nd place. It's so great to see him perform. And he was consistent, very consistent. The 6.7s, all of his attempts. He had his last 6.8. We executed in both those. Liam Vinskovich, who just started long jumping this year, is our high jump champion. Dakota Thomas, again, high jumper, great jumper. Brajan Baylor had an amazing long jump, and came back in triple, and massive PR. I mean, he's the one I want to give a massive shout out to, because just a great kid. Triple jump so hard, and we weren't expecting to score very many points in it. And going into the 2nd to last jump, I think it might have been the last one, Brajan comes to me and he says, I have the results up, and he goes, "Coach, what's 4th place?" And I say, it's 12. It was 12.5 or 12.6 meters. And he just looks me dead in the eyes, and he's like, "All right, I got you." That's all he says. And he's never jumped over like 12.2, and I think he was at 12.1 going into that. And I'm thinking, oh, man. All right. And that boy's 2nd to last or last jump, I don't remember what it was. He hits 12.6, jumps into 4th to hold that 4th. And you could tell when he landed that he had gotten close to it. And, again, just those extra points for the team that we weren't supposed to get. He had not jumped close to that all year. And, man, the laser focus. And I just love that competitive nature. Just to look right at me and be like, "All right, I got you. Like, what is it? What do I need to do?" And got on that runway and nailed it. And then, and honestly, just another one. I'm not going to try to take this too long, but Jared Alfonso came to us from football. Great guy. Really developmental last year. And again, I told the team after the championships, guys, whether you scored 1 point, 10, every single cheer, every single clap, every single point, every single half point, it all adds up in track and field. And so, someone for like Jared Alfonso, who last year was so developmental, we weren't sure where he was going to be at. He scored 1 point in the triple jump, and he's gotten so much better in the triple. And to find that home in that area, it's probably one of the best parts of my job is to find a kid that is trying to find his place. And track and field gives you that home because of how many events we have that we can try to search and find those. And then the first indoor championship team, and Jared Alfonso scored a point. It's great to watch.
You talked about the team rallying around the high jumpers and stuff. I saw that whenever I would tune in, the Hilltoppers were right there cheering on all their teammates, both men and women.
Yeah.
The DMR race, that last
crazy.
Lap, it was crazy.
I thought the doors were going to get blown off.
I tuned in for Reese's. He won the
pole
pole vault,
vault?
and that was electric. So just talk about the team atmosphere.
Yeah, and that one, man, they weren't messing around. And I felt bad because sometimes some teammates like, hey, come cheer on your team. But I told we're there early, and some of my kids, some of the distance kids, like on day one, the DMR and the 5Ks, they're not until after 9 p.m.
Yeah.
And we're there at noon. And so they have strict orders to tell them, like, hey, lay down and sleep. I know you want to stand up and cheer, but you can't fatigue yourself out, right? So if you can go do things, sit down and do it. Mm-hmm. But you can't just be on this emotional roller coaster and then all of a sudden at 9:15 run a 5,000 meter. It's tough for him. And I'd send out specific instructions to the distance team. If you have a race tonight, chill.
Yeah.
I know you want to be there, but you got to be there for the team when you're on the track, right? But everyone else, honestly, and they did a great job too. Is the whole team is moving around. Is when they would go to the jumps, if you'd see on the video, they would go and they would stay seated for their events and to not be on their legs, and they would scream and yell. And if something crazy happened, they'd all stand up. But the movement of the team was incredible because at the same time jumps is going on, we have shot put and weight throws going on day 1 and day 2 that are going ballistic. So unlike them, that I don't have any events. On the video, it looks like I've ran 12 miles because there's not a single event I miss. So, I'm on my phone seeing what's going on, and as soon as I see someone attempt a high jump, I'm sprinting to wait to make sure I see what happens. Because I've told the team a million times, the one thing that hurts me the most is when I miss something that is great happen. If I see a school record or I see a first place and I didn't get to see it, that crushes me.
Yeah.
So I can't do it. So the team itself, they know the schedule. They know their teammates, and they know what's going on and where they needed to be to cheer. They were at. It couldn't have been better. I mean, there's no question in my mind we were the loudest team there. Even in the awards, when you hear it, we had the team. They're it was electric. And you need that energy, especially those long days. And Reese doesn't even start jumping until after 9 p.m. He's the reigning conference champion, going for his second title as a sophomore. And you watching that video on the runway, I mean, there's 60 feet of just West Liberty, from little Dana Phillips to big Josh Fancher all standing next to each other, watching this event they could never do, and watching Reese execute like that. It's and even us as coaches, we know that we can tell them to do those things, but they're adults. They have to want it as well, and we can always tell when we're at those things that the hype and the that feelings they have for their teammates, it's all there. I mean, the DMR when we won, Dana came off. By the time I got to him, I had to fight through the middle crowd because he had already been swarmed in the middle somewhere. And as you know, distance runners aren't very big, so he disappeared in this little middle. And I'm sitting there trying to find him in there, and it's without us having to say anything. There's just, you watch that video, you just see this movement of West Liberty running over there. So it's something I relive in my mind a lot.
And then another school record for the men, Hunter Patterson continued his strong first season, 200 meter, finished second.
Yeah, breaking 22 is unreal. And again, I made you write, I think the first write-up on him,
first ever.
Put an emphasis that this was his first track meet, not first college track meet, that this kid did not run track in high school, has no experience in blocks, nothing. And cousin of Gage Patterson, so thank God we got him. Man, is he fast. I told him at the meet, I said, I had heard earlier in the season when he started with us, Falvo kept telling me that he was fast. And I was like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. And I hadn't told him to his face he was fast. And at the championship, he was laying down for the awards, and I got his attention. And I said, hey, I haven't told you you're fast yet. And he looked at me and I said, hey, man, you're fast. So breaking 22, first season ever, is
impressive.
unbelievable. Yeah. And you can see his
because you can be fast but not track fast, right? Like
yeah, I mean we
at a certain extent. Yeah.
Like track people tell it all the time. People always, football fans always say, "Oh, that guy's fast." They don't know what fast is. Football fast is not track fast at all. Like football players always say, like, "Oh, I could beat Usain Bolt, not give it a rest." And we get football players all the time that want to join and they say they're fast. And we're like, "Yeah, well, let's see." And they're not track fast at all. We've not had anybody on the football team come in here and be able to do the 60 or the 100 and 200 and qualify, even qualify for conference. 100 passing is a missile. It is truly incredible. And even the commentators made a point, like how built he's a big boy. That boy's muscle, and to be able to move that muscle that fast, it's pretty incredible. And we needed him. We needed that 60 and that 200, and I can't wait to see when he runs outdoor in the 100 meter. It's going to be impressive.
Last thing for the men's side, take me through the award ceremony. That picture was pretty awesome out there, but pretty electric.
You found that one. That was pretty good. I hadn't seen that one. That was pretty cool. Yeah, it's the people that have been with me a long time. Like my second and third year, we went from dead last to up to third, like real quick, and we weren't really sure how the coach of the years were how the coaches voted when I first got here. Dom was one of my athletes back then, and they were really, really upset back then that I wasn't coach of the year because they thought, well, this guy brought from dead last to top 3. It shouldn't just be the winner. It should be the coach. Yeah. And I understood that, and then I kind of got the sense at that point how the coaches voted in this conference because I literally that second year when I didn't get it, the team started booing, and I had to calm them down. I was like, no. It was outdoor, and I was like, no. And I kind of started getting a realization there. So honestly, guys like Dom who've been with me the whole time, to be with me as an athlete at the bottom and then to be on my staff at the top is truly incredible. And then and he was, he told me multiple times how nervous he was for me for the coach of the year thing because you just don't know how coaches are going to vote. And even though they give it to that, I was nervous. I'm like, oh geez, they're like, it better be you. And I'm like, I don't know. I can't vote for
out of your hands.
I can't vote for myself. So so when they announced the, honestly, when they announced Charleston second, and we all stood up, and it just crashes on you at that point, that it really happened, and that so many people they needed this to happen. Alumni that I talk to and old track fans, they watch people. The team will never understand truly in my position how many people watch them and what they do. They'll never have that understanding, just like I didn't have that understanding when I was running in college. And people needed this. They've seen this team rise, and they've seen me talk about, we can do this, and they needed it to happen. And when it crashed on you like that, and, some of my seniors and my fifth years that came back to do this thing, that's why I told them this week, just enjoy it, because we as human beings, we all do this. And I tell my team this all the time, it's just a life lesson just because I feel like I'm getting older. And I did this when I was an athlete, is when something great happens, we always tend to just all of a sudden focus on the next great thing, and we never sit and reflect on what just happened and really enjoy it. Because eventually there isn't the next great thing. You got to stop being an athlete at some point, and there isn't a race anymore. And so often we win something, or we set a PB, or we just do something incredible with teammates, and the next day we go, oh, I can't wait for outdoor. And I'm not that person. And even myself, I have a lot of work to do this week, but I'm really sitting in my office and enjoying this week and not looking at outdoor at all. Literally whatsoever, I want to enjoy it, and I've told the team the same thing, do what you need to do this week, because next Monday, we're back to it. But this week, don't just move on, because we all do it. We all do something great, and we go, but the next time, eventually there isn't a next time. And I was a fault of that during my career as well. And so for me as a coach, what I try to instill in my athletes, and even my staff as well, is when we do something great, really enjoy it for a period of time, because you never know if you're going to win again. Winning in college, whether it's a heat, whether it's a national championship, is almost impossible at the college level. It just is. It's so hard to do. Everyone's trying to get there. So moving past it to me is it's important not to move past it and really enjoy such a thing until you move on and give that reflection. So I personally watched both days 3 or 4 times already, which is many hours, and responded to as many texts as I could, and just replay it in my head as much as I can to process how I feel about it and remember it forever. because I'm not ready to move on from it. And until next Monday, I'm not.
There you go. Yeah, it was a truly special moment for the whole school, program, everything.
Yeah.
But now, quick thoughts on women's side, back-to-back runner-ups, strong performances.
Yeah, and
some
honestly,
school records, champions.
I wish they could get more credit. And I wish they had this. I wish there was this for a second, honestly, because the men executed what they were supposed to do. We had preached and knew the whole indoor season we were ranked first and that it was going to be a dogfight with Charleston. And Charleston could have very easily won it with a couple mistakes. The women exceeded what they were supposed to do. Yeah. The women outperformed what they were supposed to do. The women's performance was better than the men. And that might sound weird, but it was. They were supposed to get third and not even close. Wheeling was 20, 30 points ahead going into second. And then there was going to be a battle right behind us. Day one and day two on the women from all fronts. Throws, Jayla Walker winning the high jump as a true freshman. Mara getting second. Like, Jayla, until Thursday, we were going to pull Jayla because of a back injury. So it was one of those things, like, we didn't even know on Thursday if Jayla was going to jump. And she wins the conference championship. So the well-roundedness of that women's team on day one, we were in the lead until the very end of the 5Ks and DMRs. But to hold second place going into day two and hold it by over 20 points was such an unbelievably strong performance that I hope they realize, and I wish they could get the credit that the men do, which Saturday night we will honor them at the basketball game. So I hope anybody sees this comes to the basketball game. That's an awesome game. But they outperformed what they were supposed to do, and it was truly incredible.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you for taking the time to join us. Congratulations on a great weekend, both squads, but the men's team bringing home the first ever indoor championship. And
yep,
yeah, congratulations.
If you don't mind, there's a couple people I want to thank for all this. So I made a list, so I hope I don't forget, but I'm not pulling it up right now. So real quick, just because the head coach always gets all the accolades and stuff for this, and I get it. But there's so many, over the last 7 years, there's so many people that made this happen. And so there's people I want to thank. So President Greiner and Len Ullum, when I first got here, we didn't have a track. And for them to build that track is what catapulted us to here for recruiting purposes. Angie Hill, who's no longer with us, but Angie Hill and Jenny McFarland and Foundation, the amount of money they've helped me raise and support my staff and support me for equipment and stuff has been instrumental in giving my athletes what they need to compete. Robin Bruner, our athletic administrator upstairs, she's the best employee at West Liberty. She just is. Without her, I don't think this department runs the way it does, and I hope she always knows that. And then and not just my current staff, my former staff, my former athletes, they all built to this point. They're no longer with us anymore, and I know a lot watched because they were all calling me. But they're just as instrumental to this championship as my current staff and roster. And then lastly, obviously, my family, honestly, for just believing in me and all the athletic stuff. It's just it's been a cool ride. And then my two boys that listen to me complain all the time in the bad days, PJ Luzzi and Greg Travinsky, you're my boys. You always listen to me during those bad days. So just always appreciate you guys.
All right, Coach. Well, thanks again. Congrats on the championship. This has been Inside Hilltopper Athletics Track and Field Edition. Stay tuned for outdoor season coming up on hilltoppersports.com.
Thank you.
Disasters happen. Pick the team that takes care of them all. Powered by offices in Wheeling, Morgantown, and Pittsburgh, Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration is ready to handle any size emergency at a moment's notice. We have the right people, knowledge, and equipment to respond 24 hours a day.
I'm Danny Irwin. When disaster strikes your home or business, tell your insurance provider you prefer the restoration company the Hilltoppers call Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration.